What's up, YouTube? This is my video on overall impressions of the Harry Potter series. There's a reason why it's my favorite series, and that's because it's really good. But that's why, because it's my favorite, because I like it the most. But I guess the reasons why I like it the most is because it's structured so well. I guess J.K. Rowling has, she has a 7-book series, so she has 6 books to set up the climax. But she does really well because you really don't know what's coming in the next book, um, except for after the 6th book, you knew that he's gonna have to go out and destroy the Horcruxes. But the first book, it's just Harry realizing he's a wizard and his first encounter with Voldemort, and kind of realizing who he is. Um, the second book's kind of a mystery book. He's looking for who the heir of Slytherin is and the Chamber of Secrets and all that good stuff. And I think the second book is very underrated because a lot of people who I talk to, they say that's their least favorite book in the series, and when I first read the series, I thought the same thing. But now that I've read it a second time, and it's so fresh, I realized that it's such a page turner that it just kind of gets overlooked. Both times I read the book, I finished it in under a day. So, well, okay, I finished the first book on my second read through, and then read the first page or the first chapter of the second book, and I finished it the next day. But I could have finished it in less than a day if I wanted. But it's such a page turner that you just you get through it, and it's like the first book, you read through it. Second book, bam, you're through it, and then you're on to the third book, and then the rest of the series, it's starts running from there. So, but it's kind of a mystery book, and I like that. And it's just you turn the pages, and it's probably one of my favorite books of the series. Third book, Prisoner of Azkaban. It's more about Harry. He's more realizing who he is still. Not quite. He knows that. He's had 2 encounters with Voldemort. He knows that. He's starting to get a feeling that deep down he's going to have to fight Voldemort in the end. And he's on the run from. He's trying to stay away from Sirius Black. He realizes that Sirius is his godfather, and that kind of sets. The ball in motion. Dumbledore begins to really realize how much of an asset Harry is and how important he is. Before I think Dumbledore always knew from the start that Harry was. Well, I know he knew from the start that Harry was going to be the one to defeat Voldemort. But I think in this third book, with how he conducts himself, how he goes back and saves Sirius and Buckbeak, and how he's able to cast that Patronus and everything, Dumbledore really begins to realize Harry's raw potential, and that he can count on Harry. He starts to, let some of the reins, give him some more slack, I should say. Is also a pretty good book, and it's also kind of overlooked now that I realize it. You finish that book pretty quickly as well. It's not really until they get longer with the Goblet of Fire that I think the final 4 books are pretty much everyone's favorite, just because they're longer and they've got more stuff that goes on in them. Although there are a lot of people who like the first book the most. So the Goblet of Fire is probably in the top 2 for my favorites. I like it because it's got the competition. It's got Durmstrang and Beauxbatons and all that good stuff. And, it's just a huge tournament and competition and all this stuff going on, and Voldemort coming back, and it's just, when that happens, you're like, wow, Voldemort's back, and Harry just defeated him or escaped, and then at the end of that book, you realize how much danger everyone's in. Order of the Phoenix. The first time I read through the series, I hated it. I didn't hate it. I liked it a lot, but for Harry Potter, for how how high the bar is, I hated it. And it always takes me. Both times it's taken me by far the longest to read, about a week. I think it's because Harry's it's his teen angst. Voldemort's back. Dumbledore's gone. You know, no one believes him. Everyone thinks he's a liar. And I'm not into drama, and so I'm not a huge fan of that. But it is a good book. It's not my least favorite book in the series, I'd say, but I think it's a good book. It's just not my favorite in the series. But you know, it does a very good job. What it does do is it sets up the sixth book really well, um, and because you have that strong base from the fifth book, um, you know um, the Half-Blood Prince really has a good starting point. You know, with Dumbledore coming back and fighting off Voldemort, and everyone realizes that Harry's right. You know, it really sets the pacing well for the Half-Blood Prince, which is probably my favorite book of the series. Um, you know, it's just a lot of stuff happens. This is really when the series becomes dark. You realize, you know, you learn about the Horcruxes. Dumbledore dies, obviously. Um, and I guess it's this book when you really begin to realize what Harry has to go against. Um, Before the end of Half-Blood Prince, you know that Voldemort's strong and powerful, but once you realize that he has these 7 Horcruxes, you begin to think, wow, Harry really has his hands full, and it's going to be more than just going up to him saying Avada Kedavra, and you know it can't be over like that. Harry has to destroy, you know, he's already destroyed Riddle's diary. Dumbledore's destroyed the ring, and then you know the locket's gone. So Harry, but it's not, you know, it's the fake. So Harry still has these 5 Horcruxes that he has to destroy, and you think, oh my gosh, how's he gonna do this in one book? And he's got so much ahead of him, and then the 7th book, Deathly Hallows. After I read it, the series the first time is my favorite, and it's probably the most enjoyable book, but it's not at Hogwarts. And you know, I respect that, and I realize that it can't be at Hogwarts. Like it can't be Deathly Hallows without it not being at Hogwarts. But upon further consideration, I realize that Hogwarts, it's a main character, and I know it's kind of in the background, but it's this living, breathing castle. It's got all these ghosts going around and these moving staircases, and there's Quidditch and potions and charms class, and you know, Hagrid and his hut and all these adventures around it, and all these, you know, all these tiny intricacies and Hogsmeade and all that good stuff, and you just don't get that in the last book. But you know, all the pieces do come together, and you do get that closure. The one thing I will say is that I have mixed feelings about the epilogue. I know a lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it. I like the closure that you get from it, but I hate the fact that, you know, it's sort of like when you finish the epilogue, you know, like when a relative that you don't see very often comes and visits you, and you're really fond of them, and you know, you do all this preparing for them to come see you, sort of like when you read the first 6 books of the series. You know, it's just building up and building up and building up, and then they visit you and you have a great time and all that stuff, and then they're gone. You know, they get on the plane or whatever and they fly away, and you miss them. And that's what I felt with the 7th book. I mean, I'm still, you know, it's been about 24 hours since I finished the Deathly Hallows for the 2nd time, and I'm, you know, I still kind of miss Harry Potter. And I think it takes a lot of skill to be able to make someone miss a fictional character, or fictional characters, and J.K. Rowling did a good job of that, but I don't know, it's just, after I read Harry Potter for about 2 or 3 months, and there really aren't any books that can compare to it, and it's hard to enjoy books as much. So I tried to shift genres. That's why I'm reading Chuck Palahniuk, because it's not, and it's fiction, but it's not fantasy. So, and it's kind of eerie and different. So anyway, I'm just kind of babbling now, but anyway, Harry Potter, my favorite series, because it's awesome. And if you haven't read it, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, I mean, come on, pick it up, read it. You'll love it. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Harry Potter. I might make another Harry Potter video in like 30 seconds. I don't know. You'll know when it uploads, if it does. So, adios.